Let's create a basic network server example. We use the nets module createServer method. We then register a connection handler that fires every time a client connects to this server. When that happens, let's console log the client is connected. The handler also gives us access to a connected socket itself. The socket object implements a duplex stream interface, which means that we can read and write to it. So let's write welcome new client. And to run the server, we need to listen to a port, and the callback here is just to confirm it. Let's test. Testing this is simple. We can use either telnet or netcat. For example, netcat localhost 8000, we get the client is connected message in the server console, and the welcome message is sent to the client. And then Node keeps running because we did not terminate that connection. Now the client can write to that socket, but we have not registered a handler to read from the socket. The socket being a duplex stream means that it's also an event emitter. So we can listen to data event on the socket. The handler for this event gives us access to a buffer object. Let's console log it. Now when the client types something, we get it as a buffer. This is great because Node does not assume anything about encoding. The user can be typing here in any language. Let's now echo this data object back to the user using socket.write. When we do so, you'll notice that the data we're writing back is actually a string. This is because the write method on the socket assumes a UTF-8 encoding here. This second argument can be used to control the encoding, and the default is UTF-8. We can also globally set the encoding if we need to. So the global encoding is now UTF-8, and the data argument here becomes a string instead of a buffer because we now told Node to assume a UTF-8 encoding for anything received from this socket. Both the console log line and the echoed data are assumed to be UTF-8. I'm going to keep the example without global encoding, just in case we need access to the buffer object. What happens when the client disconnects? The socket emitter has an on-end event that gets triggered when the client disconnects. At that point, we can't write to the socket anymore. Let's console log that client is disconnected. Let's test that now. Connect, and we can disconnect a netcat session with Control D. The server logs the line.